This film was banned for 12 years due to its brutal scenes. It is one of the most intense battlefield battles in World War I history.
The death toll for both German and French sides astonishingly reached 480,000, now brought to the screen again by the well-funded Netflix.
The battlefield is covered with bodies and blood-stained ground. The movie has no protagonist aura, only the way of survival. As shells fall onto the battlefield, the poised German soldiers leap out of their trenches and engage in fierce combat with the enemy. The swirling dust and fallen bodies make life appear incredibly cheap.
Watching his former friends die one by one, Paul, new to the battlefield, feels the fear of war and the casualness of life's passing. In anger, he picks up a shovel and swings it hard at the enemy. In just one battle, the German army lost thousands of soldiers. Then the dead soldiers' clothes were stripped off, washed, dried and reprocessed overnight, so that the brand new uniforms could be issued to soldiers again. The story takes place in Germany during World War I. In order to quickly replenish the missing forces at the front line, the principal organized a large-scale speech. He passionately painted a grand picture for the students, and those present couldn't help but raise their arms and cheer, eager to achieve great deeds immediately. He excitedly took the uniform, his eyes full of excitement. But upon seeing the uniform, he couldn't help but wonder why it had someone else's name on it. The German officer noticed and tore off the name tag, telling him that the uniform belonged to someone else, but the size didn't fit. Unaware of the truth, Paul was quickly sent to the Western Front, not knowing that what awaited him was hell on earth. On the march, the large unit was suddenly attacked by poison gas shells, and it was only with the officers reminded that the new recruits realized they needed to put on gas masks. Seeing the recruits' performance, the officer even doubted if they could survive the night. The soldiers who have marched for 20 kilometers are exhausted, yet they cannot rest, because if they don't scoop out the water, their trenches will be flooded. Paul, on night watch, seemed to sense something unusual. Upon a closer look, there was a wounded French soldier not far away. Without hesitation, he pulled the trigger and took him down with one shot. But in the next second, a bullet came directly at him. Luckily, it only hit Paul's level 3 helmet. Frightened, Paul didn't have time to recover before enemy shells rained down, landing near the trenches. Soldiers rushed into the bunker, their faces full of fear and unease. Continuous bombings and the shaking canopy overhead caused a soldier to break down completely. He recklessly dashed out of the cave, and the next moment he was blown to pieces. Witnessing this, one soldier repeatedly banged his head against the wall. More and more soldiers began to panic, and started running toward the cave entrance.
The air raid shelter finally couldn't withstand and collapsed.
The next day, Paul, barely alive, was rescued, but his comrades lay forever in the ruins. After a short rest, Paul was sent to collect the name tags of fallen comrades. At first he was fairly calm, but when he saw his friend's eyes, he completely broke down. He broke down. His former classmate, lively a moment ago, now was just a cold corpse. He held his friend's body, crying like a child, with no trace left of the ambition he had when he first enlisted. In just a few weeks, the German army lost 40,000 soldiers, and the reckless reinforcement had only a negligible effect. Soon after, 60 newly enlisted recruits lost contact with the main force. Paul was sent to search for them, and they followed the trail of shell casings along the railway crossing, eventually finding a clue at an abandoned warehouse. The lives of 60 people were all taken by the enemy's poison gas shots. At this rate, the German army will soon have no one left to use. To delay the enemy's advance, the Germans sent someone to negotiate with the French. However, the harsh terms from the French army were unacceptable to the Germans. It is obvious that this negotiation has fallen apart. The French army gave the German army 72 hours to consider before signing on the battle will never cease.
The breakdown of negotiations led both armies to resume fighting.
German soldiers poured out of the trenches, charging towards the French positions. As a student soldier, Paul had never experienced such a scene. He awkwardly pulled the grenade pin and tossed it towards the French forces.